Hello and welcome. This is Marie Satori, and thank you for joining me on another astrologically focused episode of Witchy AF. I'm going to be discussing our journey through Scorpio season, the Taurus Full Moon, the Scorpio New Moon, as well as Mercury Retrograde, and what we can experience and expect during the season. Scorpio season is a time for transformation. It is also a time when we are pushed to go deeper, opening the doorway and the portal between the seen and the unseen worlds. The initiation of descent into the underworld gives us access not only to our own potential for growth and healing, but also healing and honoring our ancestors. Scorpio is ruled by fierce Mars and deep Pluto. It is a sign of intense transformation, fear, the gate to our subconscious, and the unknown. Scorpio season pushes us deeper, opening the doorway and the portal between the seen and the unseen worlds. When the sun is in Scorpio, our shadows are illuminated. All of who we are exposed, even though we push down into the darker corners of ourselves. It is advantageous to cultivate a deeper understanding for the light and the shadow that makes up our complete self. And that is something we're going to be asked to explore during Scorpio season. We start Scorpio season with Mercury already retrograde. Mercury retrograde is significant in helping us return to the past, clear up old baggage and unhealed relationships. It's a time when we review, reflect, and restore ourselves to health. And the beauty of Mercury in Scorpio is that we get to really dig deep and get to the bottom of issues that we would have normally avoided. And as difficult and painful as this may be, there's actually a beauty at the end of this journey if we allow ourselves to trust the process. Then we will collectively experience the Taurus Full Moon, which is a blue moon, on October 31st on Halloween, which will urge us to collaborate with our natural world and seek nourishment and pleasure, which is Venus, who rules, the planetary ruler for Taurus. And then following, we will have a Scorpio New Moon on November 15th, which will encourage transformation. So for our collective focus for Scorpio season and this lunar cycle, we're going to go deep within ourselves to face pain, grief, and our past. We're going to use it as a source for healing, strength, and resurrection. And during the season, we will discover our own value and what we value, giving more thought to our finances, resources, and foundation. And if you feel as if you have no foundation or security at this moment, Scorpio will remind us of the mysteries of life, of the unknown, and what blessings await for us on the other side of this fear. Now, it can be super uncomfortable, but there is something waiting for you on the other side of this discomfort. So what blessings await for us on the other side of the unknown? Scorpio will ask you to think about this and will encourage you to have transformation. Scorpio season will ask us to shed old skin, allowing it to return to the earth so it can be fertilization and fertilize and feed for the next cycle. It's a fuel. So when we shed our old skin and we allow things to be released, it goes back to the earth to be fertilization or like manure to build a stronger foundation for the next cycle. We're also going to discover and be asked what ancestral patterns are repeating in us at this time and how we can honor our past and our lineage and be empowered to break any cycles or any negative cycles. And we're going to take this season to reflect on areas of your life or our lives and belief systems that need to either be transformed or buried, put to death, or put to back into the earth. And actions we can incorporate during Scorpio season would be, for example, connecting deeper through a safe and mindful intimacy and sexual expression. We can find a close friend or therapist or counselor who we can disclose and heal maybe darker sides of ourselves. And we can allow the death and release of what isn't growing so we can feel free and redirect our energy and resources for something else. So let's begin with Mercury Retrograde. Mercury Retrograde started October 13th and goes until November 3rd, and it will be in the sign of Scorpio, the sign of our ancestors, of transformation, of death and rebirth, of unhealed wounds, and of empowerment. Retrogrades alert us to the weaknesses in the system that are ruled by the planet's energy. Mercury is most known and feared because the messenger planet has his hands in everything. Without Mercury's energy, we can't connect, relate. And this retrograde, again, being in Scorpio, will bring issues and people from our past back into our lives, giving us a chance to get our karma right. Reunions are likely, as well as regrets, especially if we haven't learned our lessons or refuse to acknowledge them. Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, we will be facing the lessons of our finances, of intimacy and power, especially how they relate to the balance or lack of balance in the relationships in our lives. And as with all Mercury retrogrades, we may not have all the facts, and they are likely to be misunderstandings and a desire to retreat into a darker and safe space. Scorpio is a time about discovering what makes you feel safe, loved, and respected. Trust issues during this retrograde will rear up. If you have let behaviors in relationships slide, Mercury will now dig them up for you to examine. And that's what Scorpio does. It takes our shit, if you will, and it turns it up from the depths of our subconscious, and it forces us to take a good look at what isn't working, the stuff that we have buried deep down in the recesses of our minds. We are forced to look at it. It's just what happens. So Mercury in Scorpio gives us the perception and in-depth understanding of what we've been trying to avoid. And this gift can be used to help understand ourselves, understand others, and understand also if we are being manipulated or abused in some way that we are not allowing ourselves to see. Following, we will have the Taurus Full Moon on Halloween, or All Hallows Eve, or Shaman in Gaelic traditions. It is the start of the Day of the Dead in Latin America, and the Taurus Full Moon is significant in helping us shine light on what is hidden and lending Taurus earthy energy to ground the transformation energy and any uncomfortable feelings we may be having during Scorpio's season. Full moons naturally bring oppositions and different perspectives into focus. They highlight the relationships in our lives and ask us to find some sort of balance or negotiation. Full moons bring our unconscious to light and remind us that our emotions are our teachers. As uncomfortable, possibly, it may be to be experiencing these emotions. This full moon in Taurus is actually a blue moon, a second full moon or opportunity this month for us to clear up and let go of unfinished business. And you know the saying, once in a blue moon? It refers to how few and far between these lunar events are. The last time we had a blue moon, it was in March of 2018, and the next one will be in August of 2023. So these are very rare. So this full moon on Halloween will shine a spotlight on what is hidden. More truth and information will come to light, and expect to see more shocking truths and systematic breakdowns. The breakdown that happens in order to break through. This full moon is jam-packed full of surprises. It is meant to move any stuck energy forward, bringing change, liberation, new discoveries, and new insights. So Taurus, the energy, reminds us to come home into our body and into ourselves to help us find stability. It reminds us to enjoy earthly pleasures of our senses through taste, touch, sound, and sight. And of course, right now, this is challenging for us because during coronavirus, we can't really, taste as easily as we want to. It impacts our sense of taste. It impacts our sense of smell if, God forbid, we catch it. We can't touch and hug one another as much as we would want to be right now. So we already right now are at odds with this sense of touch and feeling and wanting to be not only in our own body, but being close to other people and touching other people. So we may already feel at odds with this. The Taurus energy also reminds us that there is beauty to be found in every situation. So even though we have conflict, and this is interesting time, unique time, bizarre time that we're living through, there is some form of beauty here. And that is our new way of thinking of intimacy and being close with others and who we choose to be close with. If it's the 6 people in the room, who are the most important people that we want to connect with. And again, Taurus is really connected with nature, and it is a place where we can find sanctuary and comfort. And we're seeing people right now leaving big cities and wanting to go closer to nature and wanting to connect more to nature. And quite honestly, in many places, it's safer to be in nature. So we are we're being prompted to connect to the earth at all times and be interconnected. That we do to ourselves and to the earth ripples out and affects the collective. So as we cherish the earth, hopefully we cherish each other. There's this relationship that is formed between the earth and ourselves. And we also see that too, as when we were all in lockdown, how things in the earth started to, in our connection with the earth and nature, started to come back into an interesting balance where nature was able to experience itself more. And it's interesting. So what we do, how we work, there's this ripple effect. So during the full moon, we may also see seeds of the intentions we set during the previous new moon and it's going to begin to manifest during the full moon. And the thing we need to keep in mind is that Mercury is still in retrograde, and that may require us to tweak or reorganize some of our intentions, because we have either new information or things are obscured. We may need to make adjustments. So during the full moon, we may be prompted to make adjustments in our previous intentions. However, we are on our way to seeing the visible effects of our transformation. We'll start seeing the visible effects of our own personal transformation and the collective transformation during the full moon, during Halloween. So Taurus gives us the resources to keep moving towards our goals. It can remind us of the resources also that we may need to acquire to get there. The shadow side of Taurus's energy is scarcity. So focusing too much on the material and becoming obsessed with attaining money and things to reflect on our own self-worth. So during this Taurus full moon, we may get clear about how valued we think we are. We see where we may put too much importance on using the external world as a measure of our value for our own personal worth. So be mindful of falling into a pitfall of thinking you are not worthy or not valuable if you don't have any money or material possessions. So of course, this is a lot easier said than done. Having money can make life less stressful. It provides for us in a sense of security and comfort that can add to our, false, replaced internal security. But under a little more intensity than usual, this is a time to wrap up things financially, to collect on projects that we have come to fruition, and generally tie up loose ends. So focus your intention to make that final payment, final touches, and by final payment, like final payment on credit cards, look at your credit cards, look at your mortgage or your rent, look at the final touches you may have on a project, and start to showcase the creative and mental efforts that you have put into any projects or thoughts over the past 6 months. This is a time, this full moon, to declare either the brainstorms and pipe dreams you've been working on as feasible or something to just toss away. So ideas and projects that stood the test of time, well, they can remain. And the rest, this is a time to release. We're looking to free up our energy and free up our resources and do make what we have built up work for us. We're looking at what we've built up to be part of our foundation. And this can also, the things that we're releasing and changing, this can apply to personal beliefs, opinions on politics. This is a time to be righteous, but not self-righteous, opinionated, but not judgmental. And we're allowed to change, of course, our opinions and our thoughts as new information yet again comes to light. Now, the opposition between the Scorpio sun and the Taurus moon gives us a chance to see the polarity between our inner sense of resource and security, Scorpio, and our external sense of resource and security, Taurus. Both are value or valuable and useful. But with Scorpio, we can become too focused on using other people's resources in order to further ourselves. And with Taurus, we can become too focused on acquiring money and possessions at the expense of connecting with others. So both ask us, and you're going to really feel this during the full moon, but both will ask us to look outside of what we value and consider important in our lives, and require that we look inside at how much we value ourselves and how we allow others to treat us. This opposition also highlights the places where we may be stubborn and inflexible, as opposed to the Scorpio quality of flowing with the unknown and mystery. Both Taurus and Scorpio can hold on to control for dear life. So part of Scorpio's lesson is to force us into letting go of the control and discovering that the only thing we can control is our decision and our actions. And Taurus's lesson is to let go of the need to control money and finances out of fear of lack or scarcity. So this full moon is also, to keep in mind, it's an opposition to Mercury retrograde. So when we think about our finances and when we think about fear and lack of scarcity, we can expect our career to become the forefront of our mind. Or perhaps we can be reflecting on authority in our lives, and if we're giving away too much of our power to others. Communication around relationships, shared resources, debt, and finances are definitely going to make a theme for this full moon, as well as Mercury retrograde, because Mercury retrograde is reminding us to reorganize our finances. If we haven't been keeping track of our monetary situation, or things have gone out of control, we are going to be getting this supportive energy right now to review these areas in our life. So the ruler of this full moon, Venus, the planetary ruler, is in her home, one of her home signs, which is Libra, while she's opposing Chiron in Aries, triggering feelings of vulnerability. So we want to be mindful of feeling vulnerable. However, Mercury will be retrograde in Libra, giving energetic balance, and is a reminder to us that we do not have to navigate the unknown, which is Scorpio, alone. And this is inviting us to make way for relationship changes. So be mindful and careful of deceit and outright lying, which is something that can happen because of Scorpio. However, there will be a lot of emotional honesty, and maybe it's possible it's not all that we will want to be hearing, or we might not be happy with it. However, if we are holding on to a relationship out of guilt, sentiment, or that we should feelings, it may be a little painful to let go. However, we will need to reclaim our energy. This is what the Taurus full moon is going to ask us to do in order to move forward. So we're going to receive information and look at and hear honesty about the relationships in our lives, and starting to change and let go. Keep in mind that during Mercury retrograde, past lovers may come back, igniting a spark that you thought had passed, or perhaps you're learning new information that helps bring healing and more intimacy, or create more distance and closure. So with Mercury retrograde, we will eventually have to face our actions and choices. And if you think you've succeeded in keeping them hidden, well, think again, because Scorpio hangs out our dirty laundry for all to see. So this Taurus full moon reminds me in a way of the episode of Hoarders, where we all have to clean out our closets and let go of what we don't need, Taurus, and don't desire anymore, Scorpio, but it's still costing us something and dragging us down. So this Taurus full moon is really asking us to let go, like most full moons, but this is a blue moon. So this is more potent, more powerful. And this Taurus full moon will give us the much needed overhaul of the financial and relationship areas of our life. It will give us a much needed review in how we see and value ourselves. Coming out of this full moon, we'll feel more connected to ourselves empowered to make choices that reflect in this new sense of value and self-worth. And the Scorpio season is creating a new identity of our choosing that is more in alignment with how we want to live our life. So we're going to start envisioning how we want to live our life, and Taurus energy, the full moon, will help us create it. Now, when we enter and experience the Scorpio New Moon, we're officially entering the winter in the Northern Hemisphere and transitioning into more internal and introspective times. And the Scorpio New Moon it's a continued time when the veil between the seen and the unseen world is said to be really thin. Scorpio in itself represents our connection to our ancestors and the wounds and karma we inherited. So Scorpio asks us to penetrate deep into our soul, heal unresolved trauma, and find our way back to wholeness, more empowered and inspired than before. The Scorpio New Moon will ask us to look at our baggage and the ugliness that we have attempted to hide from ourselves as well as others. And anything you've been trying to keep hidden will likely surface during this new moon to be addressed, released also, and let go before you can create new intentions moving forward. Personally and collectively, this means behavior that's abusive, dishonest, manipulative, jealous, greedy, just to name a few, will increase in intensity and get exposed, hopefully, and find their way to the light through the transformative powers of Scorpio. Now, we have the potential to step out of any dysfunctional relationships and situations and take back our power during this Scorpio New Moon. Definitely during Scorpio season, but more specifically during the Scorpio New Moon. You may be dealing with situations outside of your control, or they may come to light during the Scorpio New Moon. You may recognize them then. But what you can control is your response to these situations, and how we respond to circumstances gives us the power of choice. We may be presented with some new information and needing to make some major changes or life decisions. We may be experiencing loss in relationships, work that forces us to look at the trajectory of our lives. We may feel inspired and energized to create change and embark in a new chapter, using the strength and the fuel of these planets to break through any limitations and empower ourselves to move forward. So, whatever path you're taking, Scorpio season and Scorpio New Moon asks that we do everything with honesty and integrity. Selfish, ulterior motives, and manipulative behaviors continue the cycle of karma, and you get to choose to respond to what you're being presented with now, and that alone is empowering. So choose wisely. We also get to harness this new moon's energy to seed our intentions for what we want to create for our future. These themes of Scorpio are around creating healthy boundaries, healthy intimacy, healthy sexual relationships, discovering our own value and what you value, working through finances and resources to help develop a solid foundation. Though it may not feel like you have any foundation at all at the moment, Scorpio again reminds us of the mystery of life. So even if we're participating in something that inspires and ignites us, we may still have feelings of insecurity or ungroundedness. So find your internal point of calm and focus and miss any chaos that's unfolding during Scorpio season and the Scorpio New Moon. Hold on to any inspirations coming through during this time. Work towards them during the Scorpio New Moon. Any life-altering changes might be necessary now, but know that things may look a little bit different on the other side in the couple of weeks following. Now, stay flexible like water. Flow with the direction that life is taking you, and as long as it feels in alignment with your ultimate goal, you'll get there. How you get there may not be exactly how you intended, especially since Scorpio is like going through the dark. However, Scorpio season and the Taurus Full Moon and the Scorpio New Moon, transformation is inevitable. Thank you for listening to this podcast on Scorpio season. I have a full workshop inside Satori Shala, SATORISHALA.com, that I share with you rituals and baths, how to connect with your ancestors, how to connect with your spirit guides. This is a very transformative and powerful time of year, and I really invite you inside the Shala to work with these once in a year planetary energies.